Welcome, yogis. So I'm going to share a short movement practice. This isn't necessarily a full yoga practice, but something that I do on days where I wake up and I just feel a little tighter and I'm kind of short on time. So we'll kind of work with all the joints, the places that we store tension. And you can choose to end your practice by going into Savasana or to end it in another movement or meditation practice. So whatever feels good for you. But go ahead and find a comfortable seat, so you'll sit with the spine tall. And we'll just start by working some kinks out of the shoulders. So extend your right arm out, flip the palm so it's facing behind you, and then start to wrap it behind your back. You might give it a little pull so the hand ends up over on that opposite side. Take the other arm, reach it up and over, bend at the elbow, hand gently finds the temple. It's not a lot of weight, but as you sink your right shoulder down, gently start to draw the head the opposite way. And take a couple deep breaths there. So even here, even though we might not consider this a full yoga practice, we're still going to use our breath because it facilitates release and soothes our nervous system, brings us into this moment. All good things. Good. Go ahead and release your head. Switch arms, so as you wrap the left arm behind your back, give it a little pull with the opposite hand. Other arm reaches up and over. Hand finds the temple. The top of the left shoulder draws down as you lean the head to the side. Couple of slow breaths. Good, and then slowly release. Bring the head back up. Good. And just roll the shoulders a couple times up, back, and down. And then reverse that up, forward, and down. Good. And then let the head drop over towards your right shoulder. As it comes through center, draw the chin in towards the chest, just as far as feels comfortable. Draw the left ear to the left shoulder, and then leaning it back slightly. And then come back through center. And to the other side. And just do that a couple times so you're making these little half circles. Good. And then let the head find center again. Let yourself sit tall. Extend the arms out. Make little fists, and you're taking your thumb into your fists. And you're going to look at your left hand and roll that hand so the palm, the fist faces forward initially and then up. And look at the other hand and do the opposite. You're going to roll it down and back. And then you're going to reverse that. It's kind of like you're wringing out the shoulders a little bit. And the stronger you make that movement, the more like warmth you'll start to feel in the shoulders. Let's do that a couple more times. Good, and then release the arms down. Let's come onto all fours. Okay. With the fingers pointed forward initially, and keep the toes tucked under, just gently start to shift forward a little ways, and then back. So just looking to warm up the wrists a little bit, to stretch the forearms. Do that a couple more times, just gently forward and back. And then you'll come back through center, turn the fingers towards the sides of the mat, and rock from side to side. And again, just doing that a few times. Nice and gentle, make sure the hands continue to press down, press a little into the fingertips. And then you can either stay with either of those two movements we just did, or flip the hands so the fingers point back towards your knees. And then you'd rock the weight back towards the heels a little, and then just for a moment come forward to release. And do that a few times. And then go ahead and release. Sit back onto your heels, toes tucked under, ideally. Shake out your wrists. Okay, and then come back into all fours. As you inhale, lift your chin, gaze forward. Feel the shoulder blades draw together, heart melts forward. And as you exhale, reverse that, round the spine. And just do that twice more. Inhaling, lift the chin. And exhale around. Good. And then make your way back through neutral. So neutral spine. And now we're going to make circles with the rib cage. So think about taking the lower ribs and you're pressing them up initially, moving them over to the right, circle them down as they come through center, over to the left and back up. And just go in that direction a few times. And there'll be a little movement in the hips and the shoulders because it's really hard to completely isolate it. But you're trying to initiate that movement with the ribs. And if you're new to it, it might feel a little funky. Good, and then just pause and circle the other way. You might just notice, does one way feel a little easier or more natural than the other? Good, and then slowly back through center. Bring the toes together, stretch back for a moment, walk the hands forward, let the head drop down. And then come back up onto all fours. And bring your left knee a little bit more towards center. If your hands are starting, your wrists are starting to fatigue, you can do this down on the forearms or even forearms if you have like a prop. You can place a blanket or a block down. Okay. Lift your right toes up, turn your right knee out, pull your knee forward, and then let it drop down. Again, lifting the toes up, circle it out to the side, forward and down. And just do that a few times in that direction. And then go the other way. So you're drawing the knee slightly towards the chest, turn it out, lift the toes, and then bring the knee down. And then movement can be big or small. It can be little circles, it can be big circles, slow or fast. Good. And then slowly let the right knee come down. Bring the right knee to center. Either on the forearms or on the hands, lift your left toes up, turn the knee out, pull it forward, and then down. And again, just a few circles in that direction, feeling like warmth, it's circulation in the body that we're building. And then move the other way. And just freeing up or helping to free up some of those kinks, those places we might feel a little tight. Good, and then slowly bring that knee back down. Go ahead and stretch back into child's pose. One more time. Just settling the rib cage down between the hands. Between the thighs. Lift yourself up to all fours, press to downward facing dog. Step your left foot forward and turn to the right. Coming into a straddle stretch, lift yourself all the way up. Okay. And just briefly, toes turn out, hips sink down, bend your knees. Hands can rest right above the knees, and then you're gonna come into this little twist. And this one really does kind of feel like wringing out your body. So you're gonna let that right shoulder dip forward as you look over your left shoulder. And try to turn the rib cage as you sink nice and low into your hips. Bring yourself back up through center and other way. Inhaling to come to center. Exhaling, sink and find that little twist. And just do that a couple more times, bringing rotation into the spine, a little warmth into the hips and the legs. Good. And then come back through center. You can straighten your legs and go ahead and forward fold. Okay. And then turn back to the top of the mat. Step forward, make your way down onto your seat. However you want to get there, whatever way makes sense. Okay. And then you're going to come onto your seat with your feet a little wider than hip distance. And maybe if you're sitting in the kind of the orientation that I am, then hips at the back of the mat, heels around the front, and you might just need to adjust. Take your hands onto the ground behind you, fingers point back, roll the shoulders back. And start to let the knees dip over to the right. And if there's a lot of space between knee and heel, you just shorten that a little bit. And the knees don't have to come all the way down, but you might just gently ease them towards the ground. Lift back up through center and let them drop the other way. Do that a couple times. And just letting that movement even out in your body. Good. And then the next time the knees drop over to the right, you'll turn towards that inner right thigh. Go ahead and walk the hands forward and just briefly drop down onto the forearms. Take a couple breaths there. If you choose to, you can see what it feels like to walk the arms and the torso a little farther right. So it's your torso is diagonal to the right now. You might feel more comfortable to stretch all the way out. Let's take another breath or two there. And then slowly release yourself back through center. Bring the hands behind you. Feel the weight move across the sit bones as the knees dip to the other side. And then same thing. Walk down onto the forearms. You can pause here. And you can walk the hands, the arms, the torso a little farther left. And just taking care of our hips a little bit. And then go ahead and release. Draw yourself back up. Let's turn, roll down onto your back. Let the knees come into the chest, let the arms extend out. Inhale here. And as you exhale, let the knees drop about 3/4 of the way to the left. Try to draw the knees towards that left elbow. Inhale back through center. Exhale, knees drop over towards the right elbow. Do that a couple more times on each side. Try to keep the backs of the shoulders down so that the movement is coming from your core and you feel maybe a little bit of compression in the belly on either side. Good. And then the next time the knees are over on the left side, go ahead and let them drop all the way over. Just pause for a couple breaths. Let your body find a little twist. It's especially good if you're doing this little bit of movement first thing in the morning. It can help sort of stimulate digestion as well as circulation. And to release, let the right knee come up through center first. Let the left knee follow. So just kind of keep it loose. And then let the legs drop over to the other side, over to the right. And just a couple breaths. And then go ahead and roll onto your back. Left knee through center, right knee follows. Wrap the arms around the legs, hug them in. And then from here, you can choose, if you have a moment, you want to just lie down for a minute. We'll call it Savasana. If you want to come up to a seat and move into a meditation, or if it's time to start your day or continue your day, do so from here. Namaste.